Hey, what's going on? My name is Avi. This is Command and Conquer Fitness. Thank you so much for joining me today for episode 1 of how I stay at 10% body fat. If you're looking to transform your physique from something like this to this, then you're in the right place. I'm about to show you my full day of eating with detailed steps on how to cook and prepare each meal, the exact meals I use to get to that physique, and the same meals which I still use to stay at that physique year round. Let's get after it. I'll see you in the kitchen. Good morning. It is 7:48 a.m. That thing's a little bit fast. I think it's like 7:45 a.m. So we're here for breakfast. I like to start the day with a strong cup of coffee. My dad owned a coffee business. May he rest in peace. My dad and I were very close, and I have super fond memories of he of me and him doing coffee deliveries together when I was a kid. As I got older, he would sell wholesale beans to his customers. He wasn't doing retail like Starbucks or Pete's where it's like delivering to the end customer like, hey, here's your Americano or whatever. He would actually work with a roaster to get gourmet, finely roasted beans and then deliver those beans to places like a Starbucks or Pete's. Although, of course, those are huge customers. My dad worked more with like local grocers, hospitals, etc. Anyway, coffee was a big part of my dad's life, and by extension, it eventually became a part of mine. I didn't even consume coffee as I was a kid growing up, probably for the better. But then as an adult, got close, and as I got close with my dad and kind of being in the workplace doing the 8 to 5, it just became a part of the daily routine. And now I wouldn't say I'm a coffee connoisseur, but I love coffee. I can definitely tell the difference between diner coffee and the coffee that I consume to this day, which is the same from the same roaster that my dad worked with when he was alive. So love coffee, love the taste. There are some health benefits. It's not really why I drink it. I drink it because it reminds me of my dad and I love the taste. But just to quickly recap, coffee does have a lot of antioxidants, which are great for fighting free radicals, which increase your risk of cancer, right? So if you have antioxidants on board, the general idea is that over time it will reduce your risk of cancer. To what extent? Hard to say, but it's a point in your favor. Also, caffeine, which is in coffee, tends to promote alertness and motivation, especially in the morning hours, which, if you're someone who struggles with that, that can be a good thing. That said, don't be too dependent on caffeine. You want to also have morning sunlight. You want to have appropriate temperature regulation. We'll be talking about these things in future videos to make sure that your circadian rhythm is well regulated, because that ultimately is what's going to generate the hormonal flow and development and neurotransmitter flow and development that will lead to you having lasting energy throughout the day. You don't want to be dependent on external substances like coffee. That said, caffeine in an appropriate dose, like 1 cup of coffee, maybe 2, is totally fine and can even be beneficial. So, with that said, let's make this cup of coffee. Just to be fully transparent with all of my gear, equipment, whatever. So I've got right here, I believe this is the Breville Express or Express. I don't remember. It's been a while since I bought it. But this is just, your pretty run-of-the-mill household espresso machine. And by run-of-the-mill, I don't mean it's not good. I just mean it's kind of standard issue. It's not like breaking the bank super hardcore. Like you're not paying over $1,000 for this thing, but it's also not $100. I think it was somewhere in like the 500 range. And believe me, it's worth it for me. It's freaking great. Put the beans in up here, and I'll go and grab the beans really quick. So we've got them right here. Boop. And I get them from the roaster, like I said, that my dad used to work with. So I've already put the beans in the hopper. And we're just going to go ahead and boot up the machine. Now, keep in mind, I've already got this thing filled up with water as well. So we're going to take this guy, the little funnel, just to make sure coffee grounds don't get everywhere. Slap that bad boy on. And we'll let it do its thing. So now we're just going to take the tamp, pull this thing out. And something I actually discovered recently is, I kind of used to be a bitch with the tamp, to be honest. I would kind of just be like, yeah, and then, be done with it. Nah, dude. I figured out you really got to put your elbow grease into this shit, because if you do, that's what actually enables you to create enough pressure with the espresso machine to really get a nice extraction on the shot and get that super nice top layer that they call, I believe, an Italian crema. That just makes the coffee so much fucking better. And the cool thing is that I used to be able to get that pressure, but only with more grounds. If you put a lot of pressure into the tamp, you can get that same pressure, but with less grounds, which is, of course, saving you money. And that's a big theme you'll hear in this series. I love saving money, and I'm sure you do too. So, with that said, let's put some gusto into this thing. So, yeah, I kind of like to do a little fine one just to make sure I got the right angle, squaring it up. But then I'm going to be like, bam, put the full freaking body weight into that thing. And then I also, just for symmetry, I'm going to rotate it around to the left side and kind of do the same thing. So I'm going to put my full, all right. And there we go. And I'm going to put the tam back. And just to show you, oh man, and this is one of the greatest pleasures in life. That's good stuff. Yeah, and I'm just going to kind of bring this closer so you can get a look at this thing. Yeah. Oh man, look at that. That's freaking dank. Now we're going to go ahead and throw, I believe this is called the group head or portafilter or whatever. I don't know the terms, but we're going to throw this thing right up in here and we're going to do double shot, baby. Cool. And while I'm doing the double shot, I'm actually going to be behind camera doing some squats. So that's part of my daily ritual. So I'm going to go do that. So now that the shot has finished, I'm going to pull this out. We're about to dispense some hot water into this thing. And while doing that, I like to do some Romanian deadlifts, so with body weight. Part of my morning routine, so I'm going to do that. And the next part of my morning routine is some rollovers on the ground while this thing's cooling down, so I'll see you in a bit. And we're back. All right, so just got to grab a quick sip of water. Always have a water bottle on you. It's one of the best tips of all kind for fitness and health. Did I just say all kind? I meant all time. Best tips of all time, not all kind. All kind, I don't know, whatever. It's early in the morning. I just grabbed some Trader Joe's heavy whipping cream. So this is normally where I would have 2 big ass carrots as part of my morning routine with the coffee. The slight sweetness of the carrots helps offset the bitterness and complement the bitterness of the coffee. Of course, this is very high quality coffee, so there's not really much bitterness at all. It's a very smooth coffee. That said, the carrots and the coffee go exceptionally well together. Plus, carrots and coffee both start with a C, alliteration. It's great. But sadly, I do not have any carrots right now. It's actually a grocery shopping day for me. It's Friday, and I'm actually about to go to the store. I work Monday through Thursday right now. So Fridays are kind of my chores day, groceries, laundry, whatever. So I'm actually going to head to the store in a little bit. But for right now, I don't have any carrots. Just know that if it was a normal day, I would be eating carrots right now. So I'm going to take this cream, and I've got a half tablespoon right here. And we're just going to throw the half tablespoon of cream. And of course, me being my weird self, normally I would stir this with the carrot. But I don't have the carrot, so shoot. Anyway, while this is doing its thing, I'm going to take these old grounds and put it in the compost bin. Please get a compost bin. It's good for the environment. If your neighborhood doesn't support compost, that sucks. I totally get it. But if they do, get a compost bin. That's where food scraps and organic waste material belongs, not in landfills. That is not good for the environment, guys. That produces all sorts of horrible greenhouse gases and microbes that are not good for the environment. So yeah, and it destroys good bacteria. So we need to make sure that we're getting compost in the right places. Get a compost bin. All right, public service announcement over. Just had to say that. Off camera, just washed out the old grounds, and now this is a critical step. If you have an espresso machine, if you want to keep it tasting excellent, like exquisite. Long term, every single time you run a shot, an espresso shot, you want to run an empty shot afterwards, meaning once the grounds are out, run an empty shot. It will clean out your whatever this thing's called, the group head port filter. I forget what it's called, but it's going to clean that thing out, and it's going to keep your machine running sharply and pristinely, and that's what you want, especially because it's not a cheap monetary investment. So just want to say that. And so I'm going to run an empty shot. And there you have it. We've got ourselves a beautiful cup of coffee. Absolutely delicious. Okay, now we're going to move on to the meal. So now we're going to make the cottage cheese fruit and nuts mix. Of course, there's a few other things in there, but that's just to keep it nice and short and rolls off the tongue. First thing we're going to do, we're going to grab some strawberries or fruit of your choice. I usually alternate between strawberries and apples. I just think that's what tends to work best with the cottage cheese mix. They also tend to pair really well with chocolate protein powder. So I'm going to take these strawberries and go wash them. Now that I've got my washed strawberries, I'm going to cut them. So the first thing I do is I just cut off the little tops. I like eating them because I'm weird. You can cut these however you like. By the way, I'm going to keep drinking my coffee as we're doing this. Coffee and strawberry. Oh, so good. Okay. Anyway, you can cut these however you like. Obviously, there's no right or wrong way to do this. I personally like to do really thin cut slices just because I feel like it creates more number of bites, if you will, and more flavor per like square inch of strawberry, right? Like you're kind of maximizing surface area, which is really nerdy, but anyway, that's how I'm going to cut it. So I just go like this. And also just for basic cutting, this is how I hold the knife. I went to a knife skills class. One of the greatest tips I ever had was like, a lot of people just hold a knife like this. That kind of sucks. You don't really have control. You want to really grip it right around here so you can, bam, you can get into that shit. The other thing too is you kind of want to have this like rocking motion. Like if you ever watch like a professional chef, not saying I'm a professional chef, but if you ever watch them, they kind of just get this nice little rocking rhythm when they're cutting. And that's what enables you to get some nice speed and precision. But anyway, this is not a cooking class. I just wanted to share that in case you found it helpful. So yeah, I'm gonna get my strawberry here and just get some thin slices. So boom, 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 and we'll just knock out all these bad boys. Now you can see we've got some thin cuts. And another sip of coffee. Bam. All right. Now that we've got that dealt with, I'm gonna get a bowl, food scale, which I'm not showing on screen. I'm keeping me visible so I can talk with you and have eye contact with you. Just know that there is a food scale down here and a bowl. Okay, now I've got Trader Joe's full fat cottage cheese, and we're gonna do 10 ounces or 283 grams or whatever. I do tend to use grams just because my scale is a little bit more exact with that, and I kind of know all the stuff by grams, but ounces is fine too. It doesn't really matter. All that matters is that you stay consistent and you know what you're doing. And there we go. I've got myself 282 grams right here. Next, I'm going to take these strawberries and put them in the cottage cheese mix. Simple. Okay. So now I have strawberries and cottage cheese. Next thing we're going to do is grab protein powder, chia seeds, and creatine. All right, we'll start with creatine. I'm going to keep that nice and simple. Just one scoop, 5 grams, the classic. Not doing any big loading phase or whatever, guys. That's stupid. Just take creatine, 1 scoop a day. If you miss a day, it's not a big deal, right? We're going to have a whole creatine facts and fiction series, but just for right now, just wanted to say, don't worry about a loading phase. Don't worry if you miss a day. We got chia seeds from Costco. I don't get many things from Costco, but there are a few that are very cost efficient, and chia seeds is one of them. Oh, and just in case you're wondering, like this is it's nature's intent. And as far as the creatine, I guess I should show you that too. Doesn't really matter. Just make sure it doesn't have any additives with creatine. With creatine, you just want to make sure there's no additives. It's just a classic creatine monohydrate. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, with the chia seeds, I did 15 grams down here. So I'm kind of doing all this stuff down here off camera just because, again, I want to make eye contact. And I'm going to zero out the scale. And then I've got Kirkland protein powder, chocolate flavor version. What am I talking about? Flavor. And I get this from Costco, Kirkland. So it's one of the other things I get from Costco. It's very cost efficient. I think for this giant bag, which has 70 servings, it's a 5.5 pound bag. And this thing was like $50 or something. Very, very cost efficient. Tastes great. And I do like 12 grams, so like 3/8 of a scoop, something like that. Why that weird number? It's the number that I kind of came to that gives the flavor I want. If I do more than that, it just starts to taste a little too protein powdery. But also, I love the flavor. I love the chocolate flavoring. So we're gonna add that. So now we've got cottage cheese, strawberries. We've got 280 grams of cottage cheese. We've got strawberries, roughly 4 or 5 ounces of strawberries. I didn't say that, but it doesn't matter. Whatever you want, it's fine. And then creatine, 5 grams, 15 grams of chia seeds, which is half a serving, and then about 3/8 of a serving of protein powder, about 12 grams. Now we're almost done. Almost. We're gonna take the coffee, actually. Back to the coffee. We're going to take the coffee that we made earlier and we're actually going to put some in. You don't have to do this. You can use water if you like, but you can't just have it dry. You could, it would suck. But you got to put something in there to mix around the protein powder. Otherwise, this thing's going to be chalky as all hell. So I prefer to use coffee. The coffee and chocolate, all the C's, guys, carrots, chocolate, coffee. It's the best, dude. It's the best combination. I'm telling you. And you've got the cream from the, you put the creamer in the coffee. Oh my God, it's so good. With the full fat cottage cheese, guys, this is the fucking healthiest fucking breakfast that still tastes like goddamn ice cream. I'm telling you. You're going to fucking love it. So I'm going to put some of my coffee in. You can do water, whatever. But I'm putting coffee in. Fuck you. I'm just kidding. That's something my dad used to say. I'm doing it. Fuck you. Okay. Cool. And just to give you an idea like where we're at with this thing, this is kind of what it's looking like. But I'm actually going to give a full look at the meal at the end. You know, don't worry too much about that right now because it still kind of looks like shit. But I am going to stir this around because now we're at the final step. Amazing. Okay, so the last ingredient to add here is nuts. But I don't usually do that until I've kind of cleaned up everything else. And also, it's really nice to just enjoy this mixture for what it is without nuts. It's great with nuts. It's great without. So I like to do a little bit, have a few bites without while I'm cleaning up. And then we'll add the nuts in a sec. Now for the final step, I've got extra fancy salted mixed nuts from Costco. One of the other few items I get from Costco. This stuff is absolute crack. It's got cashews, almonds, pecans, Brazil nuts, macadamia nuts, and of course, salt. So we're going to take that. I've already put it into my own container. And actually, it's got some additional almonds that I picked up on the street. I randomly found like 6 pounds of sealed almonds on the street. Oh my God, I got lucky as hell that day. That's like $40 worth of almonds. But anyway, I've got this. I'm going to add 1 ounce or 28 grams. So I'll do that. And then I'm going to actually show you what this beautiful thing looks like. Not that you really need to see it, because if you're following along, you now have this as well, which is beautiful. Yeah, here's what that looks like. Absolutely beautiful. Gotta love this stuff. Before we move on to lunch, part of this is that I want to talk about right, we just did the preparation for this meal, talked about every step, but we haven't really talked about why do I eat this? What is the philosophy behind this meal, right? Because eating isn't just about following some recipe mechanically with no intuition or emotion or meaning behind it, right? There's a meaning behind why we do things. Because by eating this thing, you said no to tons of other things. So why did you say no to all the other things and choose to eat this thing? All right, I'll tell you why. One, it tastes great. I think you're going to love how this tastes. It's amazing. And taste, food is fuel, but food is also pleasure. Don't be ashamed of that. Enjoy your food. That is very critical. So that's always going to be the first thing I say. I love how this tastes. It's incredible. I've been eating it for years. Also very heavily inspired by my dad. My dad was a big nut connoisseur. He had his own mix that he called fuel. So we call it, yeah, we'd be like, oh, when's the next batch of fuel? You know, he would experiment with like, ooh, this amount of maple syrup, or, you know, I actually personally don't add maple syrup, but my dad made some really, really good nut mixes. And he'd be like, oh, what's the ratio of pecans, all that stuff. So my dad was really into cottage cheese and nuts. And cottage cheese even is a little bit fringe. I mean, not many people eat cottage cheese. I think that's really lame. It's a very, very tasty way to get some incredible protein, and it's cheap. Pretty fucking cheap compared to other sources of protein. So why do I consume this? It tastes wonderful, right? The chocolate, the protein powder chocolate, and the coffee, and the fruit. It's wonderful, and the nuts. It's just so good. On a nutritional level, right? To me, I'm always going to be whole foods focused. I'm not anti-processed foods in the way that, hey man, if you want to enjoy it, go for it. But whole foods generally are going to be the most effective and efficient way to get the big three: protein, fiber, healthy fats. And micronutrients, of course, but generally, if you're getting protein, fiber, and healthy fats, micronutrients like vitamin K, vitamin A, whatever, etc., those are kind of just tend to come along for the ride. So I'm going to tend to focus in this series on those big three: protein, fiber, healthy fats. Where are we getting protein in this meal? Protein powder, obviously, and cottage cheese, right? I'll put the macros up actually on screen when I'm editing this thing, just so you can actually see what is the macro breakdown. But I know off the top of my head, this meal is somewhere in the 40 to 50 grams of protein range, which is perfect. That's kind of like the gold standard for per meal, how much you can actually utilize from protein for muscle building, organ repair, all that stuff. And that's why protein's so important. You can read tons of stuff online of why protein's important, and I don't want to really beat that dead horse. But you always want to make sure you're getting high quality protein every single meal. So we're accomplishing that. Check. Fiber. Why is fiber important? Tons of reasons, but 3 that I can think of right now that I want to share with you. Reduces the risk of cancer. That is very demonstrably been shown in the scientific literature at this point. It produces a healthier gut microbiome. Why? Right? So you've heard the term probiotic. That's the bacteria themselves. You may have heard the term postbiotic. Those are the short chain free fatty acids that bacteria produce as a byproduct when they consume prebiotic, which is fiber. Fiber feeds healthy populations of bacteria in your gut microbiome, which is linked with improved mood, improved immune system function, as well as tons of other things. So very, very important. And of course, on an obvious level, more fiber means that your gastrointestinal health is going to be better. You're going to have better poops. You're going to have a better time in the bathroom. No one likes to be constipated. Let's just be real for a second. So fiber is critical, and fiber comes from whole foods, generally speaking. There are processed foods that have fiber, but they're usually few and far between. Most processed foods are dehydrated and don't have much fiber. That's a bad combination. And they're super salty. Not saying salt's a problem, but when you have salt, you better have water and you better have fiber to accompany it. If you don't, so we've got protein, we've got fiber. Where are we getting fiber in this meal? We're getting it from chia seeds, we're getting it from the nuts, and we're getting it from the fruit. And if I had my carrots, we'd be getting it from the carrots too. So healthy fats, where are we getting that? Oh, and why do we care about healthy fats actually? Healthy fats, omega-3s in particular, are critical for proper brain function, for proper cognition, for you to be functioning at your best. That's not just cognition, that's emotionality, guys, because emotionality is heavily a brain focused thing. It's a body focused thing, but it's a brain focused thing. Brain and body are intimately connected. So having a proper amount of omega-3s in your diet is critical for you to be functioning at your best cognitively and emotionally. And on top of that, healthy fats are necessary for hormone production, which is also obviously important. Where are we getting healthy fats in this meal? Two sources: chia seeds and the variety of nuts. And there you go. That's why I eat this meal. And I've got coffee to wash it down. So I'm going to enjoy this meal. I've loved doing this video for you, but frankly, I'm hungry as hell. And I'm going to go ahead and eat this, and I will see you at lunchtime. Here we are for lunch. It is 12:05, really 12:02 because that's fast. On the menu, we are going to do a spinach, kimchi, and avocado salad. I like to call this an Avi special. I have not seen this in a restaurant anywhere. I've never seen anyone else eat this. It is delicious though. The creaminess of the avocado really complements the acidity and the savory saltiness of the kimchi, and the spinach just adds really delicious greens and bulk, and the whole thing is just it's the perfect holy trinity. It's the perfect trio. Really excited to share that one with you. And then we've got just a classic 4 eggs with cheese with a couple slices of buttered toast. So let's get into it. I'm gonna grab my avocado first. We'll get cutting on that. Actually, no, I lied. The first thing we're gonna do is we're actually gonna get the stove going just so we can preheat the pan a little bit so that the eggs are ready to drop in. So we'll do that. And I've got like kind of like a medium low temperature over here on the stove. So we're gonna let that guy get warmed up. I've got kimchi from Costco, bam. Got an avocado. And normally I would have spinach from Trader Joe's, but I've actually got this bunch of spinach because I'm trying out a farmer's box delivery thing right now just to see if I like it. So we're gonna be using this spinach. And then I've got these eggs from Trader Joe's. We're gonna go with a classic mozzarella cheese for the eggs. And Ezekiel bread for the toast. So for the avocado, I'm just gonna cut this into quarters. So now I've got it in half. And I like to just cut it like this so it just splits right on open, and you just take the pit out. Oh, sometimes that happens. Pit falls on the floor. Pit down, pit down. All right, so we're gonna cut that up, make sure we got our quarters. And then we're just gonna take these avocados out from the skin. So we have skinless avocados because of course we're not going to eat the skin, duh. But that does go without saying. I would imagine there's some crazy people out there that do eat the skin. Now, I don't even know if it's edible, but anyway, we're not eating the skin. Not in this household. Now that I've got my avocados, I'm going to just cut them, these 4 things, into 4s again. So now, we should, that's good stuff. We should have 4 bite-sized chunks from each. So 4 times 4, we should have 16 chunks of avocado. You can obviously do whatever you want. This is just what I like for the salad. I feel like 16 is a good amount. Okay, so now we've got our 16. Now we're gonna go ahead and take our bowl and gonna just grab however much spinach you want. So I'm gonna take like this much. Trader Joe's normally just comes washed in the bag, but since this is from the farmer's market, I can see a little bit of loose dirt, so I'm gonna go over here and wash this real quick. Okay, so now spinach is in the bowl. We're gonna put our avocado on top of the spinach. Easy. Then we are going to take our kimchi And this is where the food scale comes in. You can use as much kimchi as you want, but I personally do around 56 grams or 2 ounces just because that is a serving. Well, actually a serving is 1 ounce, but from the scientific literature I've seen to get the microbiome benefits, and we'll talk about that after the meal, the why I eat this meal, the philosophy behind it, but part of it is the gut microbiome benefit of eating fermented foods that are rich in short chain free fatty acids, FFAs, like kimchi. And the scientific literature I've seen has measured people doing it in 2 ounces, or 2 servings, I believe. So we're doing 2 servings to align our practice, our eating practice with the literature, but there's nothing magical about this. I would say just get what seems like a decent amount. And 2 ounces is also, and spaces out my Costco trips because I get this from Costco. And I don't want to go to Costco too often. I want it to be like a once every 3 months type of deal because I buy like 4 or 5 of these things. I don't like going to Costco that much. It's super busy. You got to do it because Costco has some great deals on certain items, which we'll talk about in the shopping haul video. But I don't want to go more than I have to because it is a freaking zoo, and anyone who's ever gone to a Costco knows what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's the final product. It's freaking beautiful. Yeah, gotta love it. So now that the pan is heated up, I'm going to throw in a little bit of olive oil because that's going to help prevent sticking with the eggs. Oh boy, we're at the end of our olive oil here. Yeah, that guy's gone. Okay. Whatever. But it's enough. It got us through. It's just enough. Okay, and then I'm going to just take a little buttering thing. I don't even know what you call this utensil. I think it's like a basting brush maybe. But I don't even think it's a legit basting brush. Who the hell knows? Rubber spatula maybe? Whatever it is, we're going with it. Okay, so I got my pan oiled up. I'm going to put 4 eggs in now. And that pan is just a little bit hotter than I want it. So I'm going to turn that down just a bit. I don't want to burn the olive oil. You want it hot enough that you really get that nice sizzle, but not like, you don't want to see any smoking on the oil. And usually while I'm doing this, I'll actually start munching on the salad just to get those fullness signals going, and also I just love eating. So, gonna get that going right now. Take a nice little bite of this fucking thing. Wow. I will say that that farm fresh spinach is amazing. It's definitely a different vibe than the Trader Joe's spinach. Not saying the Trader Joe's spinach is bad. It's not. It's actually great. But man, that is just that's another level right there. Okay, now we're gonna take the mozzarella cheese, and I do 100 calories worth. So that's gonna be a serving and a quarter, which is 35 grams. I really like my cheesy eggs. Okay, there we go. So I've got my 35 grams of mozzarella cheese now. And now I'm just going to take a little bit of salt, just salt the taste for the eggs. And I'm gonna pepper as well for the eggs. And now off screen, I'm just gonna take 2 pieces of the bread and just go plop it in the toaster. These eggs have been cooking. You can kind of experiment with this, but what I like to do is turn the stove off now and put a lid on. Because the underside has got a nice crisp to it, but I personally like to have my eggs I want them runny, but not too runny. I want that nice like that pinkish hue. Again, that's up to personal preference though. This is just what I do. So I put the lid on, turn the stove off, let the residual heat from the stove top create just a little bit of pressure in there and steam. And what you're gonna have is a really crisp underside and perfectly pink, runny top, which is what I love. And that toast should be coming up any second. So I'm just gonna say now, I've got some butter here, Trader Joe's salted quarters, just the standard stuff, nothing fancy. And I'm gonna do 10 grams, so a little bit less than the full serving, but I personally feel this is enough to get that buttered taste without the full 100 calories. So this is more like 70 calories, because 14 grams would be a serving. This is 10 grams. 5/7, which is roughly 72%. So 72 calories, because 100 calories is a serving. So 72% of 100 is 72. So I've measured out 10 grams here. I'm gonna go butter my toast. Now another thing I like to do is I will actually reinsert these pieces of toast into the toaster for another 30 seconds or so. It's just gonna give it a little bit more crisp, and then that butter is gonna be nice and hot. It's just the best. You're gonna get some really piping hot, fresh, sizzling butter on your toast. I don't see most people doing this, but man, it works. It's great. And while those pieces of toast are in the toaster, I'm just gonna take my eggshells and go and compost them. And while that toast is doing its thing, I'm gonna take this lid off. And there you have it. We've got some perfect eggs right there. Boom. I'm gonna go ahead and take these out. I'm gonna plop the toast up actually. It's hot enough. I don't wanna overburn the toast. Or just burn the toast, not overburn. Now I'm just gonna take the eggs out of the pan and onto the plate. And there you have it. I got the toast on there. I've got these beautiful eggs, bam. And I've got the spinach, kimchi, and avocado salad. This is hot. I want to eat it. I'm gonna go ahead and eat it. And then when I'm done eating, I'm gonna explain the philosophy of why I eat this meal. All right, just finished eating. That was lovely. Washed it down with a good amount of water. I've got myself some sugar-free gum. I believe it's extra polar ice. Love this stuff after the meal. It's one of the ways that I help mentally and psychologically move on from the meal. We'll be talking about more strategies like that in future videos, but just thought I'd share that for right now. So why do I eat this meal? Well, the spinach, kimchi, and avocado salad is a nutritional powerhouse, right? Spinach, of course, just like any green, super high in vitamin K and other micronutrients, critical for your immune system and pretty much everything running in your body. And it just adds bulk and makes it like really satiating, right? You're gonna find from that spinach, kimchi, avocado salad that you're just very satiated on a physiological and psychological level, right? You got a lot of bulk from the spinach. You got a lot of fiber from the avocado, right? Fiber is great. You got a lot of fat from the avocado, and healthy fats, omega-3s. And of course with kimchi, you have, since it's a fermented food, an abundance of those short chain free fatty acids, which are, like we talked about earlier in breakfast, you've got probiotic, that's the bacteria in your gut themselves. You got prebiotic, fiber, that's what feeds them. And then you have postbiotic, which is what the bacteria produce as a waste product after they consume the fiber. That's the short chain free fatty acids. Consuming foods that are rich in those short chain FFAs like kimchi, sauerkraut, kombucha, whatever you prefer, Greek yogurt, has been shown to increase the prevalence of healthy bacterial populations in your gut microbiome, which is going to improve your immune system, sleep, mood regulation, amongst so many other things, right? So with the spinach, kimchi, avocado salad, what we're talking about is micronutrients, fiber, and gut microbiome, which is just beautiful, right? And the healthy fats. Now, as far as the eggs and toast, pretty basic there. Eggs are also a food that had been demonized for many decades because of high cholesterol. Bodily cholesterol and dietary cholesterol are not the same thing. Eggs do not increase your risk of heart disease, all else being equal, and they provide tons of micronutrients, particularly B vitamins, and they just taste amazing, right? Everything tastes amazing, like I said. That's always my number one thing. It's gotta taste good, and then nutrition comes second, right? We gotta enjoy our food. That's very important. That's how you make your nutritional strategy sustainable in the long term. You're not going to stick to foods that you don't enjoy, right? So eggs and mozzarella cheese, it's just beautiful. Why mozzarella cheese? Well, I love the taste, and out of all the cheeses, it's relatively low in saturated fat, which is good. Overall, it's going to help, in the long term. Saturated fat has been shown to be, associated with atherosclerosis and some other stuff. On the other hand, it has been linked with greater prevalence of testosterone production, right? So there's a trade-off to everything. That said, I'm not worried about it too much, but it is high protein. I'm gonna put the macros on screen, of course, for this meal. But between the eggs, the mozzarella cheese, and the toast, we're getting over that 40-gram threshold, which is fantastic. So we've got the protein to support the meal, healthy fats from the avocado, got tons of fiber. Ezekiel bread's also got a good amount of fiber, I believe 6 grams in those 2 slices. So we got everything we need, right? We got our fundamentals: protein, fiber, healthy fats, micronutrients, gut microbiome support, and it tastes wonderful. Butter bread. I ain't afraid of saturated fat. Yeah, like if you have too much, not a good thing, but man, I'm gonna enjoy my cheese, I'm gonna enjoy my butter, I'm gonna enjoy my cream and my coffee, and that's just my perspective. And whatever you feel comfortable with is what you feel comfortable with, but that's me. That's why I eat that meal. Taste, nutrition, beautiful. I'll see you for dinner. Thank you for joining me for mid-afternoon snack, meal, whatever you want to call it. I typically work out on my lunch break. I'm very fortunate to work remotely as a cybersecurity engineer. So when I call off for lunch, I hop on over to the gym, which is also very close to me. Very fortunate for that as well. It's literally a mile down the road. So I will either walk or drive depending on how much time I have, how busy my work day is. But I'll work out on my lunch break usually around 10 or 11. I'll get that lunch afterward, but then to follow up with nutrition an hour and a half, 2 hours later, I'll come in with this meal, which is going to be lentils in the Instant Pot. Do you need to do that, by the way? Follow up the nutrition like that? No, I just do that from a hunger standpoint because usually the post-workout meal is satiating, but because I just worked out, I get hungry pretty quickly after that, even if that meal is pretty big, which it is. You already saw that. That's the spinach kimchi avocado salad with the eggs and toast. And it is filling, but I go freaking hard in the gym and I just burn a lot in general. I don't know. I get hungry and I'm like, I need food. And this is the perfect thing to just top off your tank. Lentils in the Instant Pot. We'll talk about why lentils are the unsung hero of nutrition after the meal, but for right now, let's get to it. I've got my Instant Pot right here. We're gonna grab our lentils. So I've got Trader Joe's green lentils right here. Absolutely killer nutrition. Again, we'll talk about this in depth at the end, but just have to say right now, 130 calories, 10 grams of fiber, 10 grams of protein. Dude, are you kidding me? And they taste amazing. Let's go. So I just dumped the whole bag. This is a 16-ounce bag. Now, when we actually have the final product with water added and everything and the lentils soak in that water, I can tell you from experience, a full batch is going to be roughly 3 pounds worth of lentils. So pound in the bag, but what it actually turns into is about like 48 ounces with the appropriate amount of water. So we're going to just throw that bad boy in there. Now we're going to go ahead and grab some salt. So I got my salt here. And for this package of lentils, I do 3½ teaspoons. So basically a teaspoon and then a half. And you can experiment with what salt level you like. That's just my preference. And then we'll throw in some pepper, also to taste. Now this is a critical add. I've actually got some garlic here. And we're gonna go ahead and just crush the garlic and put the whole cloves in the mixture. Now what this is going to do with the water and the pressure cooking is that the garlic flavor is going to infuse into the entire mixture. And let me tell you, this is a taste supercharger. I can tell you because I used to do this whole thing with just the salt, pepper, and the water. And believe me, it's great. It's fantastic. But man, when you add that garlic, oh, dude, it takes it from like, hey, this is good and pleasurable to like, holy crap, I gotta be careful. This is actually like a trigger food. It's so good. It's top tier restaurant level quality lentils. So we're gonna take these and as you can see, these are already individual cloves because I had the full garlic bulb and I just, bam, I've already done that part. Perhaps in a future video I can show how to do that, but it's really simple. If you have the full garlic bulb, you literally just take this part of your hand and just bam, just smack that thing on a wood cutting board a couple times. It'll just break apart naturally. Now with this, what we're gonna do is, I've got the cloves. The easiest way I have found to do this is to take a knife. I'm gonna take this cutting board just because I don't want this on the counter. Garlic can get kind of sticky. So I'm just going to go right here and just basically take the knife and the heel of my hand and just smack that shit. Smack that shit good. You really want it to get so it's like just naturally kind of the skin, or what do they call this? The shell? I don't know what they call it with garlic, but this outer casing, it should just naturally come off. If you're having to like peel it, that means you haven't really given it the gusto it needs. That thing should just come off. I used to hate working with garlic because I had this perception of like, oh, it's so annoying, I got to peel it. It's like, nah. If you're having to peel it, you're doing it wrong. You got to hit it hard enough. Now I've got my 4 gigantic cloves of garlic. You can experiment with more or less. Honestly, I don't think you can really ever have too much garlic. I'm a huge garlic guy. I freaking love it. Much to the dismay of those around me because my breath will smell like garlic. I don't give an F. That's what gum is for. But yeah, you can experiment with how much you want, and you can even cut these up if you like to, but you really don't need to. It's going to infuse the lentils all the same. But if you don't like just giant chunks of garlic randomly in your lentils, then you might want to cut these up. But I love the chunks. It's great. So, all right, we're going to put these guys in. So now we've got salt, pepper, and garlic in there. The only remaining thing that's necessary is water, which we're going to do. However, the other thing that I'm also going to do is vinegar. So I've got some apple cider vinegar here. Just going to give that a little shake. And you could measure this out if you wanted to, maybe like a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons. I just kind of go by feel. So I'm just going to dump a random amount in there. And what vinegar is going to do is it just gives that like nice acidity that's going to really bring out the umami in the mixture. It takes it next level, especially when paired with the garlic. I find that doing the vinegar with only the salt and pepper and water, it's not that great. But when you do it with the garlic, it's just, it's next level. And now we're going to just grab a water cup. So I've got a cup measure here. And we're just going to do 5 cups. So a 2-to-1 water ratio because there's 2.5 cups of lentils. So I'm going to do 5 cups of water to get that 2-to-1 ratio. Okay, so now that we've got our mixture, I'm just going to take whatever you want. I got a wood spatula, I guess, whatever. We just want to stir this. So that the salt and everything in there is uniformly distributed throughout the mixture. Okay, now we're ready to put the lid on. Now the thing is, most lentil recipes you'll find online will have you do high pressure somewhere between 1 to 5 minutes. I don't like that. When you do high pressure, it's going to make the lentils really mushy. They lose their integrity, which I don't like from a taste standpoint, but also importantly, that will reduce the potency of the fiber, which the fiber is a huge part of why we're eating the lentils, which we'll talk about after the meal. The why do I eat this? Fiber is a huge part of it. You do not want to overcook the lentils. I like al dente lentils. There's still some chewiness, but there's also a little bit of pushback. Not crunchy, obviously. That would be uncooked. But for me, al dente is the merging of taste and nutrition. That's what we want. So instead of high pressure, I'm going to do the exact same thing, but low pressure. So we're going to come over here, pressure cook, custom setting. I'm going to turn off the keep warm. We don't need that in this case. I'm not doing a delayed start or anything. I'm just going to consume it right after preparing it. And then we've got, custom, 5 minutes, low pressure. And that's it. I'm going to hit the start button. This is really quick, really easy. As you can see, you don't even need to do the garlic if you're in a rush. You can just do the water and salt, frankly, and it's still going to be great. and we'll just get this started up. And the whole thing is super fast because it only takes like 10 minutes to preheat, 5 minutes to cook, and then we're going to do a natural release immediately after it finishes, because if we let it just sit there, it's going to keep cooking. We don't want that. We want to do that natural release on the pressure immediately after done cooking. So I'm going to hit the start button now, and I'll see you when it's done. Okay, this just finished up. I've also got some eggs cooking over here because I'm extra hungry, so I'm literally making another portion of what I ate earlier. But anyway, I've got this done, and I don't want to wait too long. This thing just went off, so now I'm going to release the gas. Okay, now it says it's safe to open the lid, so I'm going to do that. And we have ourselves a beautiful batch of lentils. Oh, yes. Perfect water ratio. It's al dente. I like to just give that a couple stirs, just really make sure everything's mixed around. Now, I'm going to grab some oven mitts, and I'm going to dispense this into a food container. I have glass for most stuff, but for giant things, I have these stainless steel ones. Not saying there's an advantage of stainless steel over glass, that just happens to be what I have. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these in here off camera, and I'll see you back in a sec. All right, so I have dispensed my lentils into this container, and look at just, dude, this is beautiful. Okay, so now that this thing's piping hot, I'm going to take this, 10 ounces of this, and put it into a bowl. And then I'm going to mix in some mozzarella cheese, the same one that we had from earlier for the eggs. And voila, you got yourself an amazing snack. So I'm going to go do that, and I'll come back with a finished product. And there we have it. Absolutely delicious. Just like the other meals, I'm going to eat this while it's hot, and then I'll see you right back here to talk about the philosophy of why I eat this meal. I'm back. I'm satisfied. That was delicious. So why do I eat that meal? Which is pretty much just lentils. Let's start with the fundamentals. 130 calories per serving for lentils, 10 grams of fiber, 10 grams of protein. Dude, are you kidding me? You're going to be hard pressed to find that combination of fiber and protein in any food. That is absolutely incredible. If we're going off that 15 grams of fiber for 1,000 calories as the benchmark for a high fiber food, that's 1 gram of fiber per 66 calories. Try lentils, 1 gram of fiber per 13 calories. That is remarkable. Remarkable. So if you're doing what I just did, the 10 ounces with, I'm sorry, when I'm saying 4 ounces of lentils, I mean off of like a batch. The way that it's measuring that on the nutrition facts is, I think, for a quarter cup of dried lentils, but I've done the math. It ends up being, there's 1,300 calories in a package, right? 130 calories per serving, 10 servings in a pack, 1,300 total calories. When I weigh out a batch after the Instapot, it's somewhere between 40 and 50 ounces. So therefore, a tenth of that, 10 servings per package, right? So a tenth of that's going to be roughly 4 to 5 ounces. So for 4 to 5 ounces of cooked lentils, the way we just did in the Instapot, you're getting 10 grams of fiber, 10 grams of protein, and that whole thing, $2 from Trader Joe's. That's incredible. If you're eating 3,000 calories a day, which is probably more than what most people need, I consume more than that. But let's just say 3,000 calories a day times 7 days a week, that's 21,000 calories. How many of those lentils packs would you need to get to that? If you did 20 packages, that would be 26,000 calories, way more than what you would need. 20 packages is $40. So I'm not saying you should only eat lentils. Obviously not. You need variety in your life. But hypothetically, if all you ate were lentils, you could get your caloric needs met well under $40 a week in 2025. How incredible is that? The only other foods that really even come close to that level of cost efficiency are potatoes and rice. But those foods, in my opinion, are greatly inferior to lentils. Not saying they're not fantastic, they're delicious whole foods, but dude, brown rice, the fiber and protein, not even close, dude. Not even close to what lentils is. I don't have it off the top of my head, but it's something like 160 calories for 2 grams of fiber, depending on the type of brown rice you're talking about. That's garbage compared to lentils. That's Mike Tyson taking me out in the shed and just destroying me. That is not even a competition. And potatoes also, tons of B vitamins, tons of micronutrients, and they're great and they taste delicious, but super low fiber, super low protein compared to lentils. If you do a 10-ounce serving of what we just did, plus an ounce of cheese, which is what we did, think about the amount of protein, and those macros will be on screen. I don't have them in front of me, but just doing the math for myself, that's 25 grams of protein from the lentils plus 10 grams from the cheese. We're almost at the 40 gram threshold, the gold standard of protein, just from this little snack of lentils and mozzarella cheese, and it's so low calorie. We're talking like 425 calories, guys. Incredible. And we haven't even talked about the micronutrient content in lentils either. Iron, B vitamins, all over the place. Lentils are awesome. Get on them. They're so tasty. And when you do it the way that we just did it with the salt, the pepper, the vinegar, we're going to bookmark vinegar, and garlic, dude, the taste is incredible. So I'm a huge lentils guy. I've been a lentils guy forever. Not to mention that with the Instant Pot, guys, this is plug and play. It's too easy. All you do is take the lentils package, put it in the Instant Pot, and if you're really feeling like no effort at all you do is just throw salt and water in there, close the lid, hit a button, and you're done. Like, dude. And then you have carbs for the week. It's so easy to meal prep this. I mean, if you had a bigger container, you could just do 2 packages and you have a whole week's worth of carbs, dude. You really don't even need any other carbs. Sure, you can have other carbs and it's great for variety and probably for taste as well. But dude, if you really were strapped for time and for money, lentils are your best friend. They're not just your best friend, they are your hero. And they're going to save the day on nutrition. I mean, for real, if you had to pick 3 foods to just go the rest of your life and that's all you're going to eat, lentils, broccoli, avocado. That's it, dude. You're set. Of course, we're going to do more than that. But man, lentils, as you can tell, I can't talk enough about them. I mean, between the nutrition, the cheapness monetarily, I mean, it's so inexpensive, and you're talking about a super low time investment, right? Time investment, ease of cooking, the cost investment, right? So you're talking about minimal investment on all fronts, very, very low investment, but huge returns, right? Low effort, high returns. That's what we fucking want, dude. And they taste great. Okay, now the other 2 parts of the meal, garlic, super high in antioxidants, and they are a staple in every food culture ever. In fact, garlic and onion, I eat a lot of onions with my vegetables. I didn't show that because today was a cauliflower day, but I do eat a lot of onion. We'll do that in some other videos. Think about it. Garlic and onion are basically the only vegetables that are used in every food culture ever. Doesn't matter if you're talking about Mexican food, Asian food, Indian food, American, does not fucking matter. We all use garlic and onion. They are fundamental, and they're not just fundamental because they taste great, but they have medicinal healing properties. Cultures have known about this for basically the entire existence of humanity. They are helpful for fighting infection. Garlic has been used for centuries, decades, millennia to fight infections because of its antibacterial properties. And last but certainly not least, we threw a little bit of vinegar in this meal. Vinegar promotes a healthy gut microbiome. There's some emerging literature on that. And it promotes healthier insulin response and insulin sensitivity. That is awesome. Now, not to say that if you never drink vinegar, your insulin's going to be fucked up. That's not what we're saying at all. What it is saying is it's a tool of many tools in your toolbox to improve insulin sensitivity over time, if that happens to be a medical issue for you, or if you're getting close to being pre-diabetic, or if you are already diabetic. Vinegar is a great tool in that toolbox, as well as all the other things. We'll talk about those in future videos, such as feeding window, amount of carbs that you're eating, type of carbs that you're eating, type of protein that you're eating, etc. All right. Thank you so much for joining me on lentils. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you for dinner. Thank you for joining me for dinner. We are going to be air frying up some cauliflower and pan searing some Atlantic salmon. So I'm going to grab the cauliflower and we'll get cutting. Got the cauliflower. I'm going to go wash it and I'll be back here. Now we're just going to cut the cauliflower. The key with air fried cauliflower is the size of the cauliflower bits that you're putting in the air fryer. You don't want them too big. You don't want them too small. If they're too big, they're going to take forever to cook. If they're too small, they're most likely going to burn and singe at the edges. You don't want that either. You want a nice brown, no burning. So something like this, like roughly that size is good. One thing to keep in mind is this cauliflower has already been halved. It was a gigantic cauliflower. I typically eat the entire cauliflower, but I did not in this case because this one's huge. But the way you generally want to deal with cauliflower is you take all of this stuff, like all of the scraps, you just cut that away, and then you just leave, I believe what they're called, the florets. Maybe that's broccoli. I don't know. But whatever these, like the actual meaty pieces, I was going to say meaty and potatoes, but the actual like meaty pieces, the substance itself, the substantial part, that's what you want left. You don't want the other stuff. I mean, theoretically, you can eat that. It's just not going to be very tasty. Then again, I've never tried. If you're curious, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I might try it sometime. But for now, we're not going to do that. One thing to watch out for when you're cutting cauliflower is these stray little bits that will go on the ground. Some of those little bits on the ground are inevitable, but one way that you can help mitigate that is if you cut more towards that side of the cutting board, so they're less likely to fall off the counter. That said, you will always have to sweep a little bit after cauliflower, but man, is it worth it. So worth it. Air fried cauliflower is the bomb. You might be noticing that my energy is a bit lower. I just got done with a 5-ish mile run. So I'm pretty spent right now. But we're here, we're doing it, and I'm here to show you the real me, not some filtered bullshit version. And that's real. You go for a fucking run, you get tired. But that doesn't mean you give up on yourself. You fucking make a healthy ass meal regardless. Okay, so we've got our cauliflower. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the pan to mix some salt and pepper in. And before I even continue on here, I'm just going to sweep up, just clean up what's on the ground here. We got some stray cauliflower soldiers on the ground. And great, we're all cleaned up. So I've got some salt here. I've already salted mine, so I'm not going to show that. I typically use a half teaspoon of salt for a serving for me. You might use a little bit less. That might be a little on the high side for you. Might be a little on the low side. Who knows? But I eat a lot of veggies, and I find that for a usual serving of vegetables for me, half teaspoon is good taste. And then I'm going to just take some pepper as well and just do this to taste. I'll just show you real quick the salt and pepper. Okay, now I'm going to put olive oil. You can measure this if you want. I usually do half a serving, so half a tablespoon of olive oil. And then we're just going to mix this bad boy up. We just want to get the salt and pepper evenly distributed, as well as the olive oil. Now the key here is we have to be a little bit controlled, right? Because we don't want those cauliflower bits going all over the place. And that can be a little bit tricky at times. But we're doing pretty good right now. I like to switch hands, just get that little balance going. Oh, we lost a guy. I'm going to go put this cauliflower in my air fryer at 375 degrees for 15 minutes. I'm going to check at the 12-minute mark, but that's really just a taste. And you can shake it halfway if you want to, but honestly, that's optional. As far as the air fryer that I use, it doesn't really matter. I think it's Ultrine brand, but Really the big thing I've found with air fryers, it doesn't really, just get a decent brand, it doesn't really matter, but what matters is the size. You don't want a super small one. I like to have a bigger one, just so that when you put a lot of vegetables in, you still have a flat layer. You don't have like a huge mountain, because if it's flatter, right, you just have kind of one layer of vegetables. They're going to cook more uniformly. They're going to cook faster as well. So it's just more time efficient. But really, you can pick up whatever one you want. And I will actually have a separate video where I show all the gear, appliances, and utensils, etc., that I use around the kitchen. But for sake of this video, I want to get over to the salmon. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the stove to kind of like a medium-low temperature. Here's the salmon we got. I'm not going to consume this whole salmon. I'm actually going to consume half. It's about 4/5 of a pound, 0.8 pounds of salmon. So I'm going to do 0.4 pounds. Roughly, I'm just going to cut this thing in half. So I'm just cutting this thing in half. And then I'm just going to put this chunk of salmon, this fillet of salmon, right in the pan that we already have oiled up from the cauliflower. This is what I like to call cooking efficiency. Using the same pan. Why? It's going to save us time. It's going to save us dishes. If you're working 40 plus hours a week, you want your meals to be healthy, but you also need them to be quick on preparation, or as quick as possible. Stuff like this is going to help, not to mention the fact that the pan is already seasoned with oil, salt, and pepper. It's just going to make your salmon taste that much better. Not saying that we won't salt and pepper the salmon on its own, but it's just less work. And we also have some cauliflower scraps over there, which once those pans sear, they're going to be nice little garnish / topping for the salmon once those cauliflower bits sear up and brown. I'm going to take my other salmon and put that in some Tupperware or a food container. I shouldn't say Tupperware, that's a brand. Food container. And Tupperware, no, that's plastic. Guys, you don't want to use plastic food containers. Bad, bad, bad. That will leach chemicals into your food over time, especially if you put them in the microwave or heat them in any form, in any way. You want to use either glass or stainless steel. I these days tend to prefer glass just because it's see-through. You can see what's in it, but make sure you're sure-handed. Otherwise, it can break, and broken glass sucks. But yeah, I'm going to put this salmon in some glass in a glass container. Time to salt and pepper the salmon. This is just a little bit to taste. I'm just going to top it off with some salt. You can do as much or as little as you want. This is not like the cauliflower where I actually measure out half a teaspoon. I'm purely just going off intuition. And I'm also going to put some pepper on. To accelerate the cooking of the salmon, because this will be a little bit slow with no liquid or anything, if you have the time, great. You're going to get a great sear. We'll turn it over in a little bit. But if you want to accelerate a little bit, you can use water. That's totally fine. Or you can use a vinegar. I'm going to use a balsamic vinegar. This balsamic vinegar is frankly wonderful. It's very low calorie, just 15 calories for a tablespoon. And it just gives it that little wine sweetness, acidity. It's perfect for salmon. So I really like that. If you have some Italian seasoning, that's great as well. I do have some, but I'm just feeling kind of lazy right now. So I'm just going to do this. This will actually accelerate the cooking a little bit because it's going to get some moisture. It's going to produce steam. You don't have to put the lid on, but if you were in even more of a rush, you could theoretically throw the lid on the pan as well. But for today, I'm not going to do that. And for this, I like to just do a full serving. I've got a half tablespoon here, but a serving is a tablespoon, so I'll just do 2 of these. And the pan's a little bit hot right now. It's a little bit too explosive when I put that in, so I'm just turning down the temperature. And now we can see the salmon is cooking considerably faster, and we're starting to see, as the vinegar, the balsamic vinegar in particular, is heated, we're seeing the sugars mature, which is beautiful. That's going to add that perfect little bit of sweetness to complement the savory of the salmon. And we're at a point with the cauliflower that I'm going to go turn it over. I'm just going to give it a shake. Now that we have that going, I'm actually going to flip over the salmon now. So we've got the salmon going, we've got the cauliflower going. What now? Let's save ourselves some time and get on dishes. So I've got my cutting board and knife here. I'm just going to go ahead and wash that down. And I can see that the salmon has got just a little bit of pink in there. That's the perfect time to turn the stove off It will continue cooking in the stove. For the record, it's totally okay if it's a quality piece of salmon to not fully cook it. It's not like chicken. Chicken, you need to fully cook it, otherwise you risk incurring salmonella, which is horrible. With salmon, quality piece of fish, I mean, guys, that's what sushi is, right? I'm not saying you should eat it totally raw. You really need to handle that professionally, like the sushi guys do it. The sushi guys. I don't mean to disrespect them. Sushi chefs, they have a very specific way of handling raw fish. That said, if it's a quality piece of fish and it's not old, right? It's well within its best by date. You don't have to cook all of it. I often eat salmon that is a little bit pink in the middle, so don't worry too much about that. But you just want to get that little bit of pink, turn the stove off, let it keep cooking. We're going to deal with the cauliflower. So I've got my thing of cauliflower. I'm going to go ahead and throw this in a bowl. And what we're going to do is we are going to grab some nutritional yeast, which is just such an incredible food and condiment. Got the Trader Joe's nutritional yeast. I usually just throw on 8 grams, which is somewhere between 1 and 2 servings. Obviously doesn't really matter. That's just my personal preference. What I'm doing here is I'm just taking the last little bit of cauliflowers that are left behind that were underneath the grid of the air fryer. And I'm just going to put those on top of the salmon evenly because they're a great topper. Amazing topper, or garnish, that word that I was looking for earlier. You'll see what I mean in a second, though. This is just beautiful. Pro tip with the cauliflower nutritional yeast, I'm going to add just a little bit of water. That's going to create a really nice, thick, cheesy texture with the nutritional yeast. How much water, you might ask? Very little bit, like boop. I just turned the faucet on for a split second. We don't want the cauliflower to lose its crust that it developed in the air fryer. Of course, that would be sacrilegious. So we just want just enough moisture to really help that nutritional yeast cohere or coagulate. That's another fun word. All right, so check this out. This is just beautiful. This is our final product of cauliflower. Isn't that just gorgeous? Oh my gosh. Check this out with our salmon. Oh my gosh. Isn't that just lovely? Wow. Incredible. Okay, I'm starving, so I'm going to go ahead and eat this, and then I'll meet you right back here to talk about the philosophy of this meal and why I eat this. I finished eating, and let me tell you, that was absolutely delicious. So why do I eat this meal? Again, taste, super important. Oh, it's just so good, dude. The salmon with the cauliflower, can't beat it. On a health level, you cannot beat it. We're getting a massive protein punch from the salmon. We're getting the king of healthy fats with salmon, fish oil. That is the king. Omega-3s are the king of fats. And then fish oil, DHA, is the king of omega-3s. So we're getting the granddaddy of healthy fats with salmon. We're getting the protein. We're getting tons of fiber from the cauliflower, tons of micronutrients. We're even getting fiber and protein from the nutritional yeast. And we're getting B vitamins from the nutritional yeast, not to mention how good it tastes. So this one's pretty dang simple as far as why we eat it. It's just all around whole foods, delicious, tons of nutrients. This is nourishment for your body. And now it's time for dessert. So what do we have for dessert? Well, if it was a binge day, yes, I do binge. Yes, I stay at 10% body fat year round, even with binging in my life. We're going to talk more about how to integrate binging into your life to still achieve your goals in future videos. But for right now, this isn't a binge day. This is just a standard maintenance day for me, maybe even a little bit of weight loss. So with that in mind, we're not going to do an over-the-top dessert. We're actually going to do a really tasty, high volume, relatively high volume for the calories dessert. This dessert is going to be right around 100 calories. So what we're going to do is grab some frozen cherries with cacao powder, artificial sweetener, Splenda in my case, and then if you want, a little bit of salt. Salt's going to really bring out the sweetness. Salt makes any dessert better. You ever notice how salted caramel chocolate is just the best freaking thing ever? You throw those salt crystals on there. Oh, it's the freaking best, right? Salt is essential for dessert. You don't have to have it. Oh, I guess I just said it's essential. You don't have to have salt for dessert, but man, it makes it way better. It transforms it, elevates it to level 11. So here we go. Cherries, frozen. Let me show you what these look like. There you go. Frozen cherries. And we're gonna do a serving of this, so 155 grams, 90 calories, and as if that wasn't good enough, 3 grams of fiber in there too. Not bad for 90 calories. By the way, a basic benchmark I like to use for if a food is a high fiber food is, does it fit the benchmark of 15 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories, or in other words, 1 gram of fiber per 66 calories. So in this case, it's 3 grams of fiber per 90 calories, or another way of saying that is 1 gram of fiber per 30 calories. So yes, cherries, high fiber food. Most whole foods that aren't animal proteins are going to be high fiber foods. That was an epic fail. I've got to clean up these cherries. And there we go. I'm up to the 155 gram serving. Now we're going to grab our artificial sweetener. I personally use Splenda, and I've put it in a food container already. I'll show you what it looks like. And for this, I like to do a half tablespoon. You can do whatever you like. You can use really as much as you want. There's no calories in it. It's just a matter of what your preference is. Do keep in mind that if you use too much, that can result in some stomach sensitivity / pain. But you'd really have to use a lot. Half tablespoon, nothing to worry about. And I even do a heaping one. And now I'm going to use cacao powder, a little bit less than a half tablespoon. I don't even know what cacao powder I use, to be honest. It's been so long since I put it in this container, but any old cacao powder from anywhere will do. Ah, and the smell, so good. Less is more with this stuff. You don't want to go too hard on the cacao powder. It'll just be too bitter. That said, you do want to know so it's got that real nice chocolate taste. And now for the final ingredient, I'm just going to take a little pinch of salt. Very, very small. And then I'm going to microwave it for 30 seconds. Otherwise, the cherries right out of the freezer are just a little bit too cold. While the microwave is going, I also wanted to explain that part of the reason behind heating it up is that it will actually produce a little bit, some of the water, because the cherries are frozen, some of the water will come out and mix with the cacao powder, so then you get a chocolate syrup. It's just beautiful. So I've got my mixture now, and I'm just going to do same thing we did with the cauliflower. I'm just going to throw this stuff around a little bit, mix it up. And what I want to start to see is just a nice chocolate syrup. If I, mix them around enough, I'll start to see that thickening of the cacao powder as it mixes with the water. Oh, and this is just looking too good. Oh, this is too good, too good, too good. And there you go. Look at this, guys. Wow. That is just absolutely, does it get better than that? Come on. I'm not starving anymore, so I actually will just munch on this as I'm explaining the philosophy behind this. Damn. So good. So you might have heard of Cherry Garcia before. I call this one Cherry Christina because it was inspired by my girlfriend, Christina, who is an absolute wizard when it comes to food hacks. Now, I don't like that word very much, but man, this one kind of is a hack, guys, because you're literally talking 100 calories, right? 90 calories from the cherries and then roughly 10 calories from the cacao powder. You're talking about 100 calories for something that really just tastes like you should be guilty eating this. It's just so good. The chocolate, the cherries, the artificial sweetener. This just tastes like freaking ice cream, dude. It's like pure delight. So good. If you really wanted to get decadent too, you could even add some heavy cream to this. Like even a half tablespoon, 30 calories, and it would just, it really would be like ice cream when it mixes with the cacao and that syrup. Oh my God, it's just so good. So what's the theory? What's the philosophy behind this? It tastes so freaking good for so little calories, man. You get that dessert satisfaction. You get your sweet tooth satisfied for basically 100 calories, very small caloric penalty. And this is all good stuff, man. Cherries, you're getting fiber, You're getting phytonutrients, you're getting tons of micronutrients in the cherries. Cacao powder has tons of antioxidants. Be careful, it does have a little bit of caffeine. So if you're super sensitive to caffeine, you might want to do this one earlier in the day. I personally haven't had any issues with this, and I would say I'm moderately sensitive to caffeine, but just thought I'd mention that. But man, yeah, cacao's got tons of great stuff in it. An artificial sweetener, it's awesome. Do not let fear mongering get to you. There's not a lick of legitimate scientific literature in either Nature, Science, or Cell, the three apex journals, that suggests that artificial sweeteners legitimately create an increased risk for cancer. They do not. This is bullshit. Do not let anyone convince you of this without providing some actual proof, because based on my assessment of the literature, this proof just does not exist. It is a great tool in your toolbox to satisfy your sweet tooth with really no penalty at all. And in fact, shoot the alligator closest to the boat. Would you rather have this or sugar, which we know deteriorates your teeth, increases craving so that you're going to go and eat more calories, and it has calories itself. So it's creating weight gain and then causing you to eat more foods that have more weight gain. This is actually going to satisfy you. The calories are low. It's wonderful. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. And then if you need after the meal, complement it with some gum, go take a walk or get some tea. I like to do tea after this as I watch an episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender, my favorite TV show of all time. There's just so many ways you can go with this, but this is just a great way to close the day. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this full day of eating, please feel free to give this video a like and subscribe for more content in the future. We're going to be going into tons of nutrition, tons of binge eating, how to do binge eating while staying at 10% body fat. It's going to get fun. It's really going to get fun. So if you're interested in all this stuff, hop on board the Fuego train. Let's get going, man. All right. I think that's it. Have a good night.